Welcome to the Public Adjuster Hour, Florida's #1 source for your public adjusting needs, with hosts Vitor de Oliveira and Nelson Avalo.
So welcome all. This is our first episode of the Public Adjuster Hour. My name is Nelson Avalo. I'm the owner and founder of Avalo Public Adjuster.
My name is Victor, and I'm also the owner and CEO of All Claims Public Adjuster.
I used to work for you.
I know you did. Congrats, my man. Big stuff for you. You know, I'm proud of you where you've gone with your company and your growth. You know, so it's definitely a good thing to see and everything else. Glad to have you on board.
It's a privilege to be here. So this is very exciting because we are the first public adjusters in the state of Florida that has a radio show with the purpose of educating the masses on what a public adjuster is. Odds are if you speak to any of your friends or family and you ask them what a public adjuster is.
And even if you don't speak with them, still talk to them.
Yeah, because they don't even know what a public adjuster is.
Right. It's important to know, you know, and get the word out. And the more people know, the more knowledgeable they are about making a better decision and who to go to and what to look for as far as, you know, selecting the right public adjuster at all times.
You know, it's a profession that requires a license by the Florida Department of Financial Services. And our job as advocates is to help the homeowner fight their insurance company.
Yes. And, you know, to take out Goliath, you're going to need some tools, you know what I mean? And we're those special tools. We understand the ins and out of the industry. We're able to provide them with the services of understanding their policy to be able to maximize their claim, which, hey, you know, I don't know about you, but the more money you can get, the better, right? So that's the end goal of coming out here, because we all know sometimes a carrier isn't in the business of paying you out what you need to get paid out. So if you don't know what you're doing, you'll leave hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, and that's the importance of it.
I think the typical homeowner forgets that their insurance company is in the business of making money, and they do not have their insured's best interest.
They do not. Ever. They, you know, most people don't know banks and insurance are all under the same roof. They're all under, you know, like, and most banks, they don't want to give up that dollar. They just want to collect, you know, so that's their business model. That's usually their game plan. And just like anything else, if you don't hire the right person and you know, that's not experienced or knowledgeable and understanding the process of getting you what you need to get, you're just leaving yourself wide open.
A lot of times, the typical homeowner just does not know where to begin when it comes to damages and repairs. And it's up to us, being the homeowner's advocate, to help them on anything they need help with. A lot of times, when it comes to a roof claim, the homeowner doesn't know any reputable roofers. I've heard many horror stories of some of these clients.
Fly-by roofers, sometimes fly-by construction guys that are there to pry on the weak.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to have those relationships and have a public adjuster that can refer you licensed adjusters that are, again, licensed in the state of Florida like we are, that are, you know, again, insured in case they do make a mistake. The homeowner has the ability to go after that own contractor, right? Because, again, accidents happen. So we want to make sure, like you said, to get the right people in front of the customers, not on just on our end, but on the other industry as far as water restoration companies go. They passed recent laws that changed how they function as well. And, you know, it steers away from hiring, you know, the bad apples in a group, basically.
Weren't you in Tallahassee a few months ago?
Yes. So I am part of the Florida Association Insurance of Public Adjusters, also known as FAPIA. I was in Tallahassee fighting some of the legislation up there that were recently trying to be passed, again, to end the public adjuster industry by capping our fees at 10%, by also extending our rights to rescission, meaning when we can cancel our contracts and everything else. And why do they want to do that, right? Because we are a target to their business model of not paying claims. So they started out by going after the attorneys, and a lot of people don't know this, and you know, it's sad to say, but moving forward, what used to be paid, the attorney's fees by the carrier is now put on the burden onto the homeowner. So they silently pass those bills to affect them on the legal side of things. And now they're going on to, hey, let's take out the whole industry as the public adjusting industry because they are roadblock to me and higher profits, on the insurance side is basically how they're looking. So
it's like a monopoly.
Yeah. And what better way? Hey, you go after bills, you pay certain politicians, and how do you pay the politicians legally? You pay their campaign. You convert those dollars to campaign funds, which in return, those campaign funds pass into past bills. And those are things that unfortunately is happening. Not many people aren't up to date with, your local government, your local bills that are being passed. And that's why it's important sometimes to stay on top of your own politician as well. I know you've seen it with a lot of your clients, everything that's going on the West Coast with all the hurricane damage. We're 10 months, we're in June. So we're 8-9 months into the storm. Yeah. And Fort Myers hasn't changed one bit since 9/28 of last year when the storm hit. The only thing that's changed in Fort Myers has been more blue tarps, and the tarps are going from blue to white, because they're going from the crappy blue tarps to now they're going into the shrink wraps, you know what I mean? And that just adds more protection. Again, if you're suffering through those and you need, shrink wrap as well, give us a call. We can refer you reputable companies that can get you those kind of results as well, So you can call All Claims Public Adjusters or Avalo Public Adjusters, again, two reputable companies that work with very reputable contractors in your local area that, we'll be able to get you guys set up. Again, no cost to you. All that will be billed directly to your carrier. Our role here is basically for you to sit back, drink that margarita, and just enjoy life. Again, you're already going through a bad time. Let us be that reason for you to get better.
So I remember, flying into Fort Myers, and he was just showing me all the signs of tornado damage. We were going from door to door, just checking in on different homeowners, making sure that they were safe. And that's the first time that I actually seen tornado damage, and
right.
it's very different from hurricane damage.
Correct. Let me throw out a trick question, right? Do you know the difference between a hurricane and a tornado? What qualifies you as far as your deductible goes? And again, there's a huge difference between an actual windstorm and a hurricane. Do you know the difference, what that is?
No, I don't.
Okay. The difference is just the name, right? And a hurricane comes attached to a name. So the National Weather Services will declare that Hurricane Ian is coming to this area. A tornado produces just as equivalently violent storm, but it's just not named. Difference in deductible wise, a tornado claim, $2,500. A named storm, you're looking at a percentage which is anywhere between 2% of your overall value of your property to anywhere between 10% that I've seen.
I've shown you one with 15%.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes. And that guy had $45,000 deductible, and he had $100,000 claim. So, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. But when the agents go sell you the policy, they're trying to eliminate some of that cost from you as the homeowner. And it's very, 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 if I can stress enough to my listeners, how important it is to understand the policy that you're buying, because you don't want to be that guy.
Nothing's covered. I had one client like that.
And you're like, what do you mean? And they're like, no, my agent said this. And then you're like, okay, well, go confirm with your agent. And then they're calling my phone, hey, I need your attorney because this is utter BS.
Do you remember, Tom, that one client I had?
Yeah.
He wasn't covered by flood, by hurricane, windstorm. Like, literally, he had every... I don't even know why he had insurance.
And he was paying buku money. Stupid amount of money for zero coverage. And again, he's thinking he's full-blown covered, and he wasn't. And, most people don't understand or don't know what they're looking at when it comes to their own insurance policies. And yes, they have an understanding, and I know my listeners are very educated and they have an idea of what's going on with their house and their policies, but they're not as involved because they're not dealing with different damages on a yearly basis to their property, so they don't utilize it. So it's important to have an understanding of that. And if you hire a public adjuster like Nelson and I, then, at that point, we can help you not only get you a better policy by interpreting that policy for you to say, hey, you right now you don't qualify for this. you're going to have to pay out of pocket for this damage because you didn't have the coverage for it. But let me take a look at your policy, revise it for you, so therefore you can have XYZ coverage. I can, at that point, guide you in the right direction as well, and what to avoid when purchasing your policy as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like Tom and get a hurricane come by, blow your house down, and then you're like, hey, man, sorry, the $8,000 you pay in a year does cover you for jack squat.
It only covers you for aliens.
Yeah. And moon rocks coming down your roof, you know what I mean? Like, other than that, like,
doesn't cover hail, just moon rocks.
Right. Like, it has to be a specific way. It's got to come straight out of Mars, because if it comes from any other planet, it's not covered, like, is that strategic? Thank you for listening to the Public Adjuster Hour. My host here, Nelson Avalo with Avalo Public Adjusting, and myself, Victor, with All Claims.
It's a pleasure to be here. Our mission is obviously to educate everyone what a public adjuster is, because I didn't know what a public adjuster was prior to becoming one. I've heard what it was, but I wasn't too sure. I was very hesitant, and then I finally pulled the trigger, and it was one of the greatest feelings, being able to help homeowners out that were getting screwed over. When a homeowner just gets either $0 or
it's life changing.
It's life changing.
It really is. Like you literally become a sense of a security net for your homeowners. And you have that power to get them rebuilt and back on their feet. It's not many people out there that can offer that kind of service for people.
Yeah, I have one client that she got offered $7,000, and the insurance company didn't want to pay her any more money. This was a roof claim during Hurricane Ian, and we were able to negotiate it, up to $129,000 from $7,000.
Wow.
And that's and those are the kind of stories that I like to be a part of.
Yes. And it's sad, unfortunately, Nelson, because that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. And we'll touch more base on this on the further shows, but currently there is an active investigation, with the state of Florida against the carriers for that particular thing. And carriers are manipulating estimates. There's evidence out there, whistleblowers out there right now that have come out against the carriers that have said, yes, hey, we went to this client's house with Hurricane Ian damage. We assessed $150,000 damages. They pass on their report on to that desk adjuster, who is the person making the decision. That person looks at it. He or she says, nope, 150 is too much to pay. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to take this. And once they're done revising that estimate, the client receives a $35,000 check. And if I were to do that, guess what? The guys in the black suit with the pretty ties, they'd be knocking on my door saying, hey, buddy.
Are they going to have a pug?
Yeah. Like they come with a full party, whole band with them, with guys that I never want to be a part of or even entertain seeing. But, rules don't apply to guys with deeper pocket. We're talking, other owners that, hey, we're just going to close down this business and we're going to open.
Just cash out.
Right. And that happened, but hey, he's above Bernie Madoff, so, we'll see how that goes. And he's under some sort of protection, I assume, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not part of that investigation, but, for somebody to commit the kind of crimes this man's committed, from paying himself out $47 million months before a company going out, doesn't sit well with people that don't have a roof in Fort Myers right now. As well, like you mentioned, the stocks 6 months before they shut down, $10 a share. 3 months after he knew the company was going to go, I'm going to sell everything at $10. A month later goes in, stocks are now $1 a share. Funny how that works. He made out another $6-7 million off of stocks of his. I wish I can just flip $7 million like that and say, hey, I'm not held liable for it. Right. Like, what
Deal
money?
With FIGA.
Right. What money? Like, it's just kind of like dealing with them. Like, hey, what damage? Oh, the whole blown wall. What wall? That's an entryway, right? That was supposed to be there. No, that entry wasn't there. That was created by the storm. Oh, no, that was like that the whole time.
Yeah, so, no, I remember. I remember when we would bring just dozens of gallons of gas from South Florida all the way over to the West Coast. Propane tanks.
Right.
Just
that's what set us apart in the storm, Main reason for our success in Fort Myers was just that there were a lot of companies that were going around knocking on doors, just offering their service. Hey, how about you be a decent human being and offer them something more than just your service? How about you offer them a product? How about you offer them food, clothing on their back, shelter, things of that nature, things that we were offering to the public with no expectation of, hey, you got to sign with me or any obligation at all. You know what I mean? If you're a good human being and you're there for your community, they'll sign with you. They'll jump on board. They understand that. That was what set us apart from everybody else out there. This is what got us to get as many business as we received at that time, was because of that.
When Hurricane Ian first hit, public adjusters from all around the U.S. that had licenses in Florida, were coming to the West Coast, and it was just very oversaturated, and just the good ones stood out. There were a lot of homeowners that I was able to help them out. They were signed with other public adjusters, and the homeowner would call, for 3 weeks, they would be calling the public adjuster saying, hey, my roof, it's leaking, I really need a tarp, and they were just not answering the homeowner. So I stepped in and I offered them my assistance, and I got them tarps within 24 hours.
Right. And that's the difference. And again, that's the goal that you said, setting the expectation. Big reason as to why some legislation got passed was just that, like you said, a lot of PA showed up in the area, started doing a whole lot of door knocking and being very pushy when it comes to the subject. And we're really not in an industry to be sharks, right? We're there to offer a service that, again, maybe the client doesn't know that they need. And they just had a major catastrophic event happen. So by you showing up and, like I said, providing them with the resources as far as food, you mentioned, we brought in propane tanks to some businesses, that were giving away free food for the community. They were working together to basically give back to the community, because at the end of the day, we need the community to help us with our day-to-day business, right? And again, they have a need for us because, their homes were damages, and they can't fight Goliath by yourself. As much as you understand or have gone through it, you're gonna leave money on the table. It's like you and your wife getting a divorce, right? Like I have kids, and my wife says, "Hey, honey, tomorrow I want to divorce you." And I'm like, okay. And she's going to go hire an attorney. And guess who's going to take the kids? And guess who's going to take my whole wallet, my credit cards, everything in between? Her. Why? Because I didn't want to hire that attorney. I said, oh, no, I can go talk to the judge. I know what I'm doing. And then boom. She hires that attorney, and then that goes. Same thing with us.
It's about representation at the end of the day. When you think about it, anyone that has representation across any industry, it could be either a car insurance lawyer, an accountant, for tax purposes. Right. We are that version, when it comes to properties.
Yes.
And there's a lot of news
we
coming out.
set that tone. We put the cases together for them. We basically walk them through the whole process to get them the results that they need. And it's very important that the listeners understand that, because yes, can you do it yourself? Absolutely. And again, I'm not here to stop any listeners from ever trying to go through the process themselves. However, you know what I mean? It's just understanding that they're not there to play by the rules, and the carriers are going to lead you to denials. They're going to lead you to certain things that even if I come in, I can overturn that, or you can overturn that, right, based on the services we provide. But it also becomes a nuisance where, we're trying to fix or trying to put the puzzle back into place is when the puzzle wasn't initially put together correctly. You know what I mean? So it just makes it a little bit tougher for the client, for us, to get a better result when we're not there from day one. Those are important things to keep in mind, when something catastrophic happens, hail, wind, again, fire, anything of that nature. Don't hesitate to call either All Claims or Avalo Public Adjusting. We are there to assist you guys and be on top of it ASAP for any needs that you guys have homeowner-wise.
Yeah. So, guys, don't forget, this is the Public Adjuster Hour. This is our very first episode. One of the things that we're also going to be commenting on our recent news. One of the newest articles from the Tampa Bay is that Florida regulators warned of insurance company manipulations years ago. So right now, the state is looking at Hurricane Irma claims, and now they're realizing that the fraud that's been ongoing isn't as recent as with Hurricane Ian, but
Right.
now they're finding proof that's been ongoing since Irma.
Yes. And me being a prior insurance adjuster at one point in my career, I can say it's been a common practice, right? Where things like that happen and the homeowner doesn't get changed. Well, the law's been bent constantly that it got to a point that the law's now broke. And it's gotten to a point that it just got out of hand and the fraud just got out of hand, that it took a major catastrophic storm like that to get, Pandora out of the box, basically. And like I said, and as deeper these investigators start digging, the more they realize, like, wow, this fraud isn't just here in the state of Florida. This is a nationwide ordeal. This is going to be huge when I tell you, like, as far as... It
blows up in a couple years.
Yeah, and
these investigations take time.
Right, but you're going to see snippets of it as you go, and one of the founding people, Stephen Bush, Chip Merlin with Merlin Law, those guys have been instrumental. Doug Quinn with the American Policyholder Association, they call themselves the fraud fighters. And again, these are guys that are licensed like us that are just trying to do their job and keeping the bad apples out of the picture. Those guys have led everything. They're working with the whistleblowers as well to get the whole pictures. And again, shout out big time to the whistleblowers, because those guys literally put a nail in their coffin when it came to their career. But to open a site to something else that, again, they have now become public adjusters. Why? Because they also are in the same business. They worked on the other side. They said, hey, just because I work for the carrier doesn't mean that I'm not a decent human being and that there's another decent human being suffering right now, and I need your help. And what are they doing? They're expecting the carrier to help them, and they're not doing that. They're basically screwing them even harder by saying, nope, we're going to take X amount of...
And they're going to make it harder to lobby.
Right. And they got the funds for it. They're a billion-dollar industry. And it's not something that it's, maybe you got to have it. It's required. If you have a mortgage, you're required by law to carry homeowners insurance. And if you don't, guess what? They force place it on you. So those are just things that is treacherous and for sure needs to be observed, because it's the Wild Wild West on the other side where they can basically run on their own, and like if laws don't apply to them, which is, in my opinion, pretty crazy as well.
Anything interesting happened this week?
So 4th of July weekend, most people don't realize this, but 4th of July is almost like a national holiday for public adjusters. Okay? And it is the busiest time of the year for a public adjuster.
You have any stories?
I do. I actually got a call on 4th of July from a client. Again, I legally can't mention names, but I'll tell the backstory behind it. I got a call. It was a fire claim, and I'm thinking it's going to be a kitchen claim. I show up. The lady tells me, "No, Victor, you know what happened?" She goes, "Well, I lit up about $300 worth of fireworks, for the neighborhood. I had this nice little thing. Everybody watched and so on and so forth." And she's like, "I didn't know that I had to put water in my garbage can." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Why would anybody need to put water?" I said, "You do not know that the fireworks, after they blow up, they maintain heat. They retain heat. And the garbage bin is made out of plastic." So what happened to this lovely lady's house? Unfortunately, the 30 to 40 fireworks that she blew up that night, she threw it all into her garbage bin. She closed it up. And when you close something up with heat, it conduces more heat, which in return melted the garbage can, then in return caught her fence on fire, and in return caught her house. Luckily, thank God, nobody got hurt or killed in this. But it's a clear example as to, again, if you're going to play with fireworks, it's all fun and games till you burn your house down. And believe it or not, that happens quite often. I saw a video, like I said, of a family. They were lighting up fireworks in their driveway, ended up blowing their car up. The firework tipped over, fell off, and went in there and blew her car up, and the car caught the house on fire. Things like that happen, and 4th of July is like our Christmas in July. The humor here is, like I said, unfortunately, our business model requires a little bit of the homeowner to go through something negative in order for us to approach, that. So it happens, and it happens more than what people want to believe that it happens. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they get complacent, they get comfortable.
Us public adjusters, we could help policyholders on a variety of different things, such as homes, commercial properties, even industrial properties. But you have the yachts.
Yeah, listen, hey, you'd be surprised. Those hot tubs, fittings tend to break and they leak. You know what I mean? And again, you can call, and those are covered all day and twice on Sundays. You just don't call us on Sundays because we're not open on Sundays. Unfortunately, the law doesn't allow us, but they'll pay that twice on Sunday. Just call me on Monday and we'll take care of it.
This is our first episode of the Public Adjuster Hour.
Like Nelson said, we're here to give you the best insights, give you the best knowledge of what to look forward to. And again, just give you entertainment. And don't keep in mind, Nelson and I are ready to conduct free inspections for everybody.
The website's thepublicadjusterhour.com, which is the name of the show.
Learn about the shows, get different links as far as
some suggestions as well.
If you need certain contractors that might be licensed and you need that assistance, we'll come out with whatever contractor you need to be able to produce that service for you, and get your claim prepared, and have all the documentations set up for you as well, once we go on board with you at that time.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to listen. Hopefully you guys learned something new. This is Nelson with Avalo Public Adjuster.
And I am Victor with All Claims Public Adjusters.
This is the Public Adjuster Hour, and the new site, thepublicadjusterhour.com, Florida's #1 source for your public adjusting needs.
Thank you guys for listening. Tune in every Saturday at 8:30 in the morning right here at 850 WFTL.
You've been listening to the Public Adjuster Hour with hosts Vitor de Oliveira and Nelson Avalo. Tune in every Saturday at 8:30 right here on 850 WFTL for Florida's #1 source for your public adjusting needs.